Problem 18 also asks us to find the sum. Therefore, we need another generic rectangle. Once again, we're going to place one of our binomial expressions on each side of the generic rectangle. So I have 5b minus 1 times b plus 5. 5b times b is 5b squared. Negative 1 times b is negative 1b, which is just negative b. Negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. 5 times 5b is 25b. So I'm going to write what's on the inside of my generic rectangle. I have 5b squared minus b plus 25b minus 5. So my last step is to determine if there are any like terms to combine. And yes, I do. I have negative b and positive 25b. So I'm going to combine those to get positive 24b. The rest stays the same. So as a sum, this quadratic can be written as 5b squared plus 24b minus 5. For the next two problems, we're asked to graph the quadratic equation. Now, problem 19 was on the homework, so we're going to work on 20 here. Okay, we know from previous problems that when graphing a quadratic, it's often very helpful to start with the intercepts. So there's the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts. The y-intercept is the easiest to calculate because the y-intercept is y when x equals 0. So let's take our equation. We have y equals x squared plus 4x. And we're just going to plug in 0 for x. So 0 squared plus 4 times 0. Well, 0 squared is 0 times 0. 0 times anything is 0. 4 times 0. Once again, 0 times anything is 0. So y equals 0. And we know that the y-intercept was y when x was 0. So that means my point here is 0, 0. Now it might be helpful for us to make a table to organize this information. So we know that 0, 0 lies on our graph. Okay, let's find our x-intercepts. Well, to find our x-intercepts, we know that we need to factor. When factoring, the first thing we ask ourselves is, can we factor out a GCF? That is there anything that all the terms have in common? In this case, yes, there is. X squared and 4x have x in common. So x times x is x squared, and x times 4 is 4x. So now that I have my equation factored, I simply use the zero product property. I know that my x-intercept is x when y equals 0. So I set this equal to 0. And I say, okay, x can be 0, or x plus 4 can be 0. Well, to solve this one, I need to subtract 4 from each side. And that says x equals -4. So this point, we know that our x-intercept is x when y is 0. That means this point would be 0, 0. And this point would be -4, 0. Well, we already have 0, 0 on our graph because that was our y-intercept. So now we can put -4 on our graph. Okay, we really need 3 points to sketch a good parabola. So let's find our vertex. And we know that the x value of our vertex is going to be the average of our x-intercepts. So our x-intercepts were -4 and 0. And there's 2 points there, so we're going to divide that number by 0. So -4 plus 0 is -4. Divide that by 2 gives me -2. So my x-coordinate of my vertex is going to be -2. Now I need to plug -2 into my equation to figure out what my y is. So I got x squared plus 4x. So y equals -2 squared plus 4 times -2. So let me scroll back up. Okay, -2 squared would be -2 times -2, which is +4, plus 4 times -2 is -8. +4 plus -8 gives me -4. So that means my point here, my x value is -2, and my y value was -4. So -2, -4. And at this point, I have enough points to sketch a solid parabola. So I simply am going to connect these points in a curved manner. Make sure you have a curve. Make sure it's not pointy, and then put arrows on the end. So sketch a good parabola here. The next two problems are very straightforward. You're asked to write the slope-intercept form of the equation. We know that the slope-intercept form of an equation is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Well, we're given the slope and the y-intercept, so all you have to do is put it in the correct format. Y equals -7/5 x, that's my m, plus 4. My y-intercept is my b. So this equation is y equals -7/5 x plus 4. And very similarly, over here, I have my format, y equals mx plus b. I know that my slope is my m. I know that my y-intercept is my b. So I'm going to plug those into my equation to get y equals 2/5 x plus 1.